You woke up this morning, made your coffee, scrolled through your phone, and went about your day. And in doing so, you probably broke the law. Not once, multiple times even before your lunch break. Most people assume that as long as they aren't stealing or hurting anyone, they're fine. But the law doesn't work that way. There are hundreds of federal and state statutes that criminalize things so ordinary, so embedded in daily life, that the idea of them being illegal sounds almost absurd, until you read the actual law. Here are everyday things millions of people do without realizing they're technically illegal. Number 1. Sharing your Netflix password. You've done it. Everyone has done it. You gave your login to your parents, your college roommate, your friend across the country. It feels harmless. But under the Computer Fraud and Abuse Act, the CFAA, using someone else's account credentials to access a service you haven't personally paid for can technically constitute unauthorized access to a computer system. That's a federal statute. In theory, it carries penalties of up to a year in prison for a first offense. Now, streaming companies aren't likely to prosecute you, but the law exists, and it says what it says. Number 2. Singing Happy Birthday in public for profit. Here's one that surprises almost everyone. For decades, the song Happy Birthday to You was under copyright protection. If you sang it in a commercial setting, at a restaurant, in a film, at a paid event, you were technically infringing copyright. The company that owned the rights collected millions in licensing fees every year. A federal court finally ruled in 2016 that the copyright claim was invalid, putting the song in the public domain. But for most of living memory, that song was owned, and most people had no idea. Number 3. Using someone else's Wi-Fi without permission. You're sitting in your car outside a coffee shop. You notice an unsecured network. You connect. Simple. Except under the CFAA, connecting to a network without authorization, even an open, unsecured one, can be considered unauthorized access. And courts have actually prosecuted people for this. In Michigan, a man was charged for sitting in a parking lot and using a cafe's Wi-Fi without being a customer. The charges were eventually dropped, but the arrest happened, and nobody warned him it was coming. Number 4. Driving with headphones in both ears. In many U.S. states, including California, Virginia, and Maryland, it's illegal to drive with headphones covering both ears. The logic is straightforward. You need to be able to hear emergency vehicles, horns, and road hazards. Violating this law can result in a fine. Most people never think twice about it. They plug in, hit the road, and keep going. But in those states, the moment both earbuds go in, they're breaking the law. Number 5. Collecting rainwater. This one genuinely shocks people. In several states, collecting rainwater that falls on your own property is either restricted or outright illegal without a permit. The reasoning comes from water rights law. In states like Colorado, water that falls from the sky is considered part of the natural watershed and is legally allocated before it even hits the ground. For years, Colorado residents needed a permit to collect rainwater in a barrel on their own land. The law has since been relaxed slightly, but restrictions still exist. The rain falls on your roof, but the state says it isn't yours. Number 6. Jaywalking. Everyone jaywalks. It's so common that most people don't even register it as a legal concept. But in most places, crossing the street outside of a designated crosswalk or against a traffic signal is a misdemeanor offense. Fines range from $20 to over $200, depending on where you are. New York City alone issues thousands of jaywalking fines every year. The law exists everywhere. It's just rarely enforced, but rarely enforced isn't the same as legal. Number 7. Forwarding an email without permission. When someone sends you an email, that message technically belongs to them, not you. And if you forward it to someone else without their permission, you could be crossing a legal line, especially if it's a work email, a private conversation, or anything confidential. People have actually ended up in legal disputes over forwarded emails. It sounds extreme, but it has happened. And most people forward emails a dozen times a day without even thinking about it. Here's the thing about all of this. The law doesn't require you to know it exists. That's not a typo. Ignorance of the law isn't a legal defense. You can't stand in a courtroom and say you didn't know collecting rainwater was illegal, or that you had no idea the Wi-Fi law existed. The law assumes you know all of it, which is exactly why knowing it matters. The people who never get caught off guard by the legal system aren't always the most careful. They're the most informed. Now you are too.